Hello, everyone. Little interview here today with a super good friend of mine. His name is Cret. We call him Cret. So he works at Google. He recently joined as of 2022, I think. The aim of this short interview is if I was a student, if I was in high school, I would definitely like to know how somebody gets into Google and things that I could start doing now, like whether like you just graduated from university, you were still at university, or even just back in high school. So welcome, Alex. Could you present yourself super quickly, and then I'll jump into
All
the.
right, real quick. So my name is Alex. I grew up with Baptiste in China, so we're childhood friends. So that's why I agreed to do this course. Otherwise, I wouldn't normally. But yeah, I joined, as Baptiste said, I joined Google in 2021, actually, late December as a associate product marketing manager, which is yeah, basically a sort of entry level position in marketing for Google and the wider tech brand.
Cool, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, so we're gonna ask three questions today, and hopefully, if you can go as much detail as possible into those. Okay, first question. So, in your background, what do you think are the experiences that made you like sort of stand out? And obviously, like just quick clarification, this is really more like Google in the business side rather than like software engineering, obviously. So yeah, what are the experiences and what insights could you give like an average student, like a tip on what he or she should do where she is?
So that's a really good question. So definitely, I think one thing about Google that maybe is not so common with other companies is that they look specifically where you maybe have like some passions that kind of show, because the reason for that is because they don't want to just see you as like a someone just joining as a number or like just standard like job. They want to see you as a human being, like what makes you special, what makes you unique, and that's something that's what they call is very googly, right? So that's what makes people very googly. So for example, my background is so I've always been interested in tech, but I have like a pretty passion, like big passion for music.
Yeah.
I DJ for fun and so on, and I've always kind of shown that passion in my work experience. So even though maybe it wasn't the most clear cut industry to get into, I worked in music technology, so it'd be like for like DJ studios or startups, but always related to tech, but just that kind of like that music side to it as well. So that showed that I was really passionate about music. And also, other than obviously work experience, one of the big things that they look at is your, what do you do outside of like work? So one of the things I did was I started like a small music label. Not that it was super successful, but I started a small music label, and I ran one or two, three events in London. Actually, Beatrice was part of the team, and what we did was just organizing small events. Doing the marketing for it. So we come up with some ads and so on like that. And, even reaching out to like DJs and also having like good Instagram presence and so on. So even though it was not crazy, like super big or whatever, the fact that you had that as a passion or something on your CV really showed that, this person is, if he's passionate about something, he's willing to go out of his way and actually, explore that and do it, even whether it fails or not. And I think one of the big things at Google as well is the fact that, it doesn't have to be successful, just that if you're able to show that. So one of the big things I would like definitely give as advice would be to kind of, especially when you're creating your CV, is show yourself as a human being rather than like always trying to show like how you can impress them. Because I mean, think about it, Google gets like thousands and thousands of applications a day, like for roles, and you're really competing against the top dogs, I guess. But the question is like, what makes you unique? And I guess for me, and what they liked is the fact that I was really into music and I was willing to pursue that. And funnily enough, like ironically, well, I mean, I don't know if it's ironic, but a lot of the people I work with now are actually DJs as well, which is quite fun. But everyone's got something very unique about them. So whether it be pottery or music or anything along those lines, that definitely would be. So I would say definitely highlight that. And really, if you can't think of anything, I would say, especially in university right now, go and try something. I mean, could be you could be like art or anything like that, or like even starting like a food Instagram page, anything along those lines. Those are things that they find very interesting, especially if you're doing it on YouTube or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's Google, right?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
super good because like I think a disclaimer we should give is like Alex doesn't have the best grades in the world, and that's very good to hear because it's like okay, I don't need to be academically a genius to get into Google. It's what you said, like I
Yeah.
just need to show that I'm unique, that, and as you said, like it doesn't have to be successful. It's just like,
Mhm.
I tried, and I think that hopefully speaks a lot to people listening. Cool. And
Yeah.
so a follow up question then, which is what you said. So okay, I'm fresh out of college. I participated in society. I built XYZ. Failed, but doesn't matter. I got some experience. So now, how do I sort of like present it into a CV that Google accepts? Because people can go crazy. They're thinking, okay, Google, then I need to build like the
Mhm.
craziest CV. But maybe at the end, it's not.
Mhm.
It's down to a few rules. So what are those rules?
So I guess I'll kind of give this advice as like in general, and I guess we could talk more uniquely about Google in itself. But in general, I've spent hours and hours trying to perfect my CV and making it look all flashy and fancy and all that shit. I even learned Adobe Illustrator, AI, like all this stuff just to make it look super cool. And at the end, I had this amazing looking CV with like tons of words on it. And after, weirdly enough, even with like all this interesting experience, and actually I do have good grades. I don't know what Beatrice was saying that.
No, you have good
I
grades.
my
You have
high
good
school
grades.
grades were bad.
No, you
but
have good grades, but you're like not top
yeah, yeah, yeah.
5%. Anyway.
And then basically, so on that point, what was I gonna say? Yes, so yeah, you had like making a super fancy CV and so on. And honestly,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I realized that I wasn't getting much hits, and like I would see other people's CVs, and I'd be like, honestly, this CV looks like shit. But he's getting, he or she is getting way more, things than me, and I'm like, what's going on? And then actually, obviously, first thing is you always show your friends. Your friend, I'm sure, will have tons of tips for you. My friend actually, so my flatmate actually looked over my CV and was like, dude, it's just too much, like just too complicated. Just keep it simple. And the moment I just like really cut down 50% of the words, I stopped this whole fancy design stuff.
Yeah.
One page CV number one is the big one because they just literally skim through your CV. And I've heard this from people, and I promise you it is true. So I would say keep it super simple. Definitely keep it super simple. One page, and don't try to be fancy. I mean, like no one, like they also like, why? It just be simple. You're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and they don't want to go through your design trying to figure out, oh, it's cool I did this design, but like what am I I just want to see where he's good at,
Yeah.
So now in terms of also more on that is action items. I'm sure Baptiste I can mention that as well. It's always action items. What did you do, how you did it, why you did it, maybe if you're able to, but how you did it and what you did, basically that's the most important thing. And a lot of people think like, oh, I can't think of anything. Honestly, you can make something that sounds very, what you think very like normal, you can make it sound amazing if you use the right words. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Now specifically for Google, I would say is, like, as I mentioned, they look at you as like what makes you unique as a person. So yes, you can have the most cool, background and like work experience and so on. But if you're writing your extracurriculars that, for example, I wrote the music label, so I did this. I led, 3 or 4 people. I managed some marketing stuff. That's definitely something to put to Google. I think everyone has something that makes them unique, and that's, that has to be a big section of your CV. Like, what's something about you that made you unique?
And the structure. How did you go about the structure? Like the basic.
Yeah, so very simple. It's literally, obviously, name, work experience first. Maybe just put 3. Like max, and I would say like 3 sentences for each, just like the most important things. Yeah. If you're getting more, then honestly, that's too much. You should just really focus on the 3 main things that stood out there. And then I would say the next thing would be, after that, extracurriculars, and then something fun. At the bottom, write something like other interests. Like I wrote beer tasting, like just something that makes you a bit more fun, unique. Like who cares? Like you're human after all, and I think that's what they want to see. Yeah. Especially at Google. But I mean, this doesn't limit to Google. You can put this for any company. You want to see how you're human, of course. Maybe like what language you speak, and then for example, for me, it was like windsurfing, jiu-jitsu, or whatever. Even though I'm shit at it, and then beer tasting. But one page. I cannot emphasize that enough. One page. And if you can't fit it, like everyone can fit their CV on one page. It's if you say you can't, it's bullshit.
Yeah. And after the extracurricular, then it will be like what, education and then skills, or like how?
Yeah. So work first, education second. So don't write your high school. I mean, let's be real. Like they don't really like. That's such a long time ago. By the time you apply, like you're probably a very different person. So because I made that mistake. I always try to put my high school in there, and it's just like, what's the point? So university, whether you did a master's or a bachelor, both of them, maybe you would write, your grade point average or your first, second, 2-1 here in the UK. And then I would also say maybe like dissertation, for example, again, something that shows your passion, that's your line. For example, as I mentioned, my thing is in music. I'm really interested in music, and my dissertation was blockchain in the music industry, for example, because that also kind of, emphasizes your passion one more time. And then after that, again, extracurriculars, things you've done out of passion, and then like the bottom line is other skills that you might have, But again, you know what I'm talking when I say these CVs where they're like, there's like languages with all these like little bar charts of like, how do you even quantify that? Like, like you're like taking a microscope and you're like, oh yeah, he's 87% good at Chinese. Like, what does that mean? Realistically. Yeah. So keep it simple. So just overall takeaway, keep it super simple.
And
just
no
be
cover
straight
letters,
up.
Right?
Sorry?
That's a big cover. No cover letters, right, with Google?
No, you should definitely write a cover letter if it helps. But I mean, I would say, what they look at more importantly is just, they don't like, again, they get so many applications. Like, can you imagine going through every single cover letter? Like, I think honestly, if you're able to just do, you gotta just impress on your CV. I think the cover letter comes second. So I would focus. If you have to choose between focusing on one or the other, honestly, CV by far.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. And then now, I'm John. I made it through. I got my first email to the interview, and like, what's your number one insight that you felt like, okay, like this is the 80-20. Like this is like if I focus 80% of my time on just this 20% little thing, it's gonna make the maximum result. What would that be?
Mm-hmm. So that's a really good question. So I'll tell you a funny story. I mean, when I did my interviews at Google, the first interview I did, I thought I absolutely fucked up. I didn't think I was gonna get a second one, and especially even like I think one of the big things is like big tech companies, especially like Google, like Facebook, TikTok, any of these companies, like you get so stressed thinking that like it's this crazy company, like you're worried about completely messing up the interviews. But honestly, if you were to focus on one thing, I would say, and it sounds so much easier said than done, but it's literally take a chill pill, man. Like it's all good. Like they're people too. Like don't stress. I think I've seen people like be geniuses at what they do. People that are fantastic at interviews, but because they get so choked up on the concept of working for Meta or Google and so on, that they stress so much that they can't even like talk in interviews. And I think that's one of the big things. It's okay to make mistakes like in your interviews. I mean, they're not looking for you to answer the big business problem in like the 20 seconds they give you. No one can do that, but they just really want to see how you work under pressure. So for example, let's say, they ask you a market sizing question or anything along those lines, just relax. They're human too. Just be like, hey, you might have to take a minute to think about it. That already gives you a lot of time to just relax a little bit. Can I ask a couple of clarifying questions? You have to ask clarifying questions, of course, because that is, no matter what, even if it's stupid, ask it. Please fucking ask it. Like that's literally most important. Yeah. And take a chill pill. And then, if you mess up, that's completely fine. I mean, the interviewers are super nice, especially at Google. Like they're there to guide you. So for example, if you feel like you're lacking something, they'll be like, oh, what do you think about this part? What do you think about this part? Like they're super nice. And I think funnily enough, the people that interviewed me, I met a couple of them in person, and like they're fine. Like you also got to think about interviews also get like interview training. So they're like they're there to help you, guide you.
I think one thing that I found relevant maybe that we explained, but it's like for the same, like when I interviewed as well with some tech companies, it was the same. It's like the ability to structure problems. And it seems like that's like a huge one. I don't know. Would you agree with that? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. So definitely. I mean, the goal of all these questions is to see how you break down questions. So, that's going to be one of your day-to-day jobs, right? So that would give you like whatever question, and you break it down. Okay, so. First of all, one of the things actually I completely forgot to mention was like when you obviously have some time before you have to answer the questions. So you're like, can I have a minute? Just like very consulting style. Tech's very related to consulting in this sense. Take a minute, literally write down 1, I'm going to talk about this. 2, I'm going to talk about this. 3, I'm going to talk about this. And then just break it down like that. And after, when you see your piece of paper, you can just easily, and that also helps you not stress out too much because you have a kind of like a roadmap of what you're going to do. Yeah. But first one, definitely clarifying questions. Then it would be, okay, I'm going to do it like this. So just imagine we just asked me a question. I'll be like, okay, what about this side? What about that? What about this? And then they would guide you, like, can I have another minute to think about it? Sure. great. And then I would be like, okay, so I'm going to answer this question like this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go to this. I'm going to do this. What do you think about that? Does that sound good to you? And then
Yeah.
they'll either say yes or no. And if they say no, they'll be like, okay, what else would you, again, they're there to guide you, right? So
Yeah.
don't worry about that. And then if they say yes, go through it. And then if you're missing anything, they're going to be like, okay, you should do, add this or whatever. And then just remember at the end, and I think this is one of the most important things, and it really shows that you have a really strong, view on the thing. Go back to the initial question and then restate what you've done. And then, for example, you asked me this, I thought of this, this is my solution, this is my recommendation. And then there you go, this is my answer, that's it. And just the fact, again, your answer could be absolute trash. Like they don't like that's not the main goal. The main goal is to see how you structure it, how you go back, how you restate the question. That's really important. And then how you go about structuring it. So based off the three things, just to recap everything like I'm doing right now, intro, questions, take your time, and then basically at the end of your answer, go back to the beginning.
Perfect. Okay, that's
Okay,
great.
go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So on this closing note, is there a book that you would recommend, like your past self, to
Yeah.
read, that you think could be like beneficial and like maybe like
Mhm.
getting like
Yeah.
obviously something with Google or like just like
Yeah.
something that helped you out?
I think people completely underestimate the importance of reading, especially when it comes to like interviews and stuff, because honestly, even reading 10 minutes a night can completely change your mindset in like, say, like in a month just from reading something a little bit every day. So I think specifically for like tech, one of the big things that you want to show is how tech aware you are, right? And I think any books related to that is fantastic. I just recently finished reading this like was it Homo Deus, the book
Yeah.
from that
Yeah.
trilogy with Sapiens, and so I'm just looking at it just to make sure I'm not messing it up. And that was fantastic because like it really, I mean, that book. There's tons of books like it, but this book especially was like really give you a view of like tech now, where it's going, and stuff like that. And even stuff like that was super helpful in my interview because I could talk about they could ask me like, oh, what do you think is the next big tech thing, and I could just come up with something that I read from the book and be like, okay, I think this is fantastic. I think these applications are like really interesting. Like I'm quite interested in AV, like autonomous vehicles. I've done a lot of research in uni and stuff, and the fact that I've done like a lot of reading and stuff on that as well really helped in my interview because it showed that I was passionate about the technology and I knew the implications it had. But for any interview, I would say definitely if you're not really a book reading guy, like even like if you go on like I think it's called Feminized or any of these like websites that give you like a weekly
Yeah.
come to, like rundown of what happened on tech and stuff, that's fantastic in itself because it's stuff you can bring up in the interview and it shows that you're not just you know faking your way to tech, like you actually are passionate about it. And I think that's one of the big things they show, passion.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
Worries.
Like super insightful. I'm sure people will like it. So thanks, Alex.
You owe me one. Just kidding.
Cool.